All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're out in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
All right, welcome in everybody. Monday night, another episode of Bring It on a doubleheader Monday night football. Monday, I mean, you gotta love it. You got a game at 5. You got another game coming up tonight. Yeah, it's because of a COVID postponement, but still, man, everyone on the East Coast coming home from work, boom, football. I mean, how good is that, Coach? Right?
Man, you gotta love it. You gotta love it, sir. You gotta love it.
Yes, and we had a great game, great early game. The Raiders come back and win 16-14 on a last-second field goal. They throw an interception driving down. Cleveland can't run out the clock. Raiders come back down, find a hole in the defense. So, Coach, my question to you is, and this has been a question for years, why do teams play that simple cover 2 at the end of games and leave these open spots? And even though it's in the middle of the field, but teams run this offense in practice and know how to use the clock. Why do they leave? Why do they run this kind of defense and not make it tighter in there?
A lot of reasons they run it is because you kind of want to run the clock, because if they get out of bounds, the clock stops. In NFL, unlike high school and college, if you get a first down, the clock stops. But in NFL, it doesn't. So a lot of people, they protect the outside to give you the middle. Which, I mean, you can look at it both ways, which that's the easier throw for a quarterback to throw is the middle of the field. But that's really, like, if it's a minute left and you got to go 60 yards, you kind of get a little bit of the middle. You keep the safeties over top of it. But, I mean, I think a lot of people, they overthink it, because if you look at a lot of games, they go to the last minute and they switch the defense instead of just playing what they were playing the whole entire time.
Right.
But I mean, the Raiders haven't been really driving on them. They had three good drives, a touchdown, and 2 field goals.
Exactly. No, it wasn't. I mean, considering what Cleveland had, the disadvantages Cleveland had, for Cleveland to keep it that close, for the Raiders not to take advantage of that was absurd. But once again, the Raiders, they kill themselves with penalties here and there, stupid penalties, stupid plays. The bad throw by Carr late in the fourth quarter that almost came back to bite them. You got to give Cleveland credit, though. They came to play. They played a tight defense. They had a couple extra days to prepare, but they still had a shortage of players on their staff. Both their number 1, number 2 quarterbacks are out. Nick Mullins, who has played in the NFL, played for 49ers a couple years ago, so it wasn't like they had a complete inexperienced guy in there. But still, I mean, you got to give Cleveland credit. But at this point, you can almost say that this could have been an elimination game for the Raiders if they lost, which they did not. And now it puts Cleveland in the backseat rather than the driver's seat, because they would have won. They would have been for first place in their division. So, what does this do to the conscience of both these teams? I mean, you can only imagine what it does for the Raiders, but for Cleveland, I mean, I always wondered, how do you turn around from a last-second loss like this, especially when a playoff spot's on the line?
I mean, what you do is you go back, you look at the film, and you look at you point out all the good things, having 9 starters out, 18 players overall, and I mean, and you lost a game-winning field goal against your defense.
Right.
Like, the defense was still there. You still had your pass rush. You still had your secondary. So you can't. I mean, it's like, hey, we lost because of that. I mean, even the head coach wasn't there at the time.
Right.
But and then you look at the points. I mean, you really beat yourself, because there's a lot of drop balls.
Yeah.
It wasn't. You couldn't say the quarterback hurt you. It was more so the players.
Right.
But
exactly. You got to catch the ball in this league, and some of those catches should have been made. Definitely. That's definite. Well, a good game to start the day. Another good game for tonight. Minnesota is battling for a playoff spot. They're going into Chicago. It's probably going to be cold and windy up there, as it always is in the wintertime. Chicago is one of those teams that usually has a great first half and then they'll have it go out. Like last Sunday night, they had the great first half against Green Bay, and then completely blew it, which we knew they would. Their coach is definitely on the hot seat. But before we talk about the game, Chicago's rookie quarterback, I mean, if you look at the way he's regressed over the year, Justin Fields has really made a lot of progress and really grown into his own. So what have you seen in Justin Fields as far as, his capability to really make it in this league?
No, he's good. One thing, there's two knocks. I said it from the beginning of the season that I noticed about Justin Fields. And you saw it if you watched he had like the Netflix special his freshman year. I mean, not freshman year, his senior year, going like QB1. His injuries. Like, I don't think Justin Fields can play 17 games. I truly, truly don't believe that he can do that. And I think that's one of his knocks. Second thing is I think he's late on his throws. So he's not understanding the coverages quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's hesitant. I mean, I don't know lately, but I know some weeks back he was ranked last in throwing the football like time.
I think right up in there.
Right.
So I think, like I said, I think he'll be a good quarterback. I think he needs a good quarterback coach, especially to have a great off season where they just working with him. And I think he'll improve, like I said. But the biggest thing is he got to stay healthy, though. There's always something.
Exactly, and it's proven, especially this year, it's very hard to stay healthy in this league. We want to welcome our great producer Tony into the mix. What's up, Tony? How are you, man?
How's it going, gentlemen? I'm going good. I only got to go to work one day this week, and it's for like 10 minutes, and then I can go back to being off. So I don't have to shave. So it's a great.
There you go. All right. Well, I got to ask, what's with the Michigan State shirt tonight?
They're at least doing great in college basketball. I would usually wear my Bears gear, but I think Coach may or may not give me a little bit of grief for that. And I figured I'd be nice. Dallas did get a victory over your Giants, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So I wasn't gonna try to gloat too much because it ain't like Dallas, completely came out and dominated. So I can't.
No, but it would have helped if the Giants actually showed up, which they did not. So it wasn't really much. I watched 5 minutes of it. I'm like, yeah, okay, I know where this is going, and we changed the channel to Red Zone. Exactly, we do that. So, Tony, what's your take on tonight's Monday night game? Minnesota at Chicago. Minnesota's got a playoff spot on the line. They won a big game last week against Pittsburgh. They've had about a week and a half off. They go from Thursday to Monday. Kirk Cousins, doesn't usually do well in prime time, this is a good spot for him to play well against a Bears team that hasn't really performed up to par this year. What do you see? What's your take on tonight?
I'll be honest with you. It's so hard to get a read on the Minnesota Vikings this year because you look at them, they've been able to compete with, some of the teams that we would consider a lot of the playoff teams. They've been able to go, step for step with them. And then there's other times you look at them and they're just the complete opposite. They lose against teams that they probably shouldn't even lose against. And, they probably shocked everybody by beating a team like Green Bay. They turn around and they, shut out the Steelers for the most part for pretty much the entirety of the game. And then they start to let them come back. I'll be honest with you. I actually have the Bears winning this one. I say that because it's a primetime game. It's in Chicago, Minnesota. Yes, they're used to playing cold weather games because of Chicago and Green Bay. But I'll be honest, it's a Vikings team that they haven't done well against the division. They lost against the Lions. I can't remember if they beat the Bears earlier this year or not. But they've struggled against the Bears the last few years. I think the Bears have won majority of the last few matchups that they've faced against them. And, if Justin Fields can continue to build off of what he did against Green Bay, I mean, I think it'll be a solid game. I don't think it's going to be one of those that's a blowout. I think it'll be probably low scoring. I think it'll be about 17-14 be the final score to me. Because I do think both defenses will show up, and I think offensively, I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be able to click enough, surprisingly, with all that talent there to basically pull away with a win. Right.
Well, in the last game, Dalvin Cook had a career night, and he was even hurt, and he had a career night against Pittsburgh. So, Dalvin Cook has been the heart and soul of this offense. I mean, he's got a great receiver in Justin Jefferson, coach. But, obviously, once again, a cold weather team going into cold weather experience on a Monday night. But, and you got to think that this prime time stigma is in Kirk Cousins' head, even though he had that, you like that game a few years ago. But still, he knows because the press is writing about it. He knows his record in prime time. So, I mean, how as a player can you get past it, and how as a coach can you get your player to, like, don't think about it. And as many times you can tell a guy, how do you really get him to get past that stigma?
Well, you just got to give him easy throws. You just got to build off that and just give him. Got one thing about quarterbacks, especially like someone like Kirk Cousins, he's a rhythm guy. You got to give him rhythm, give him momentum. Once he feeds off that, if he has momentum, he has a rhythm, then he's perfect. It's when he throws and it's 3 downs and out.
Right.
And he sits on the sideline, go back out, 3 downs and out. And then I think that's when he gets to overthinking it or rush his throws.
Right. Interesting. Well, it's funny. And there's a good question by our CEO, Freddie. Do we think analytics is killing sport? Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about analytics when we come to that Baltimore Green Bay game. We're going to talk about the analytics in sports a little later, Freddie, for sure. This game obviously has major playoff implications. If Minnesota wins, they go to 7-7. They'll be tied with New Orleans. I don't know if they have the tiebreaker against New Orleans, but they'll definitely be in the driver's seat for that third playoff spot. If they lose and go down to 6-8, well, the chances of them making the playoffs are definitely interesting. So let's get a little prediction here tonight. Coach, what's your prediction for tonight?
I got Minnesota by 10.
Minnesota by 10. All right. Well, Tony already said he likes Chicago 17-14. I'm going to give Kirk Cousins the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give Mike Nagy the benefit of no doubt. No doubt that he'll probably blow another primetime game. I do love watching Justin Fields. I really hope the best for him, and I really think Chicago needs to move forward and get a better coach for Justin Fields to really flourish. So I'm going to go with Minnesota tonight. I think the line is 4 or 5. I think they'll definitely cover the line tonight. So 2 for Minnesota, 1 for Chicago, and we will see what happens. Crazy week once again in the NFL. Nutty stuff. Oh, by the way, everybody, we're not on Facebook tonight. We're on YouTube and all our rest of our channels. So we want you guys to subscribe. Ring the bell. Click the subscribe button. If we get the 10th subscriber tonight, Freddie said we're going to give away a T-shirt. So if you're our 10th subscriber, please give away a T-shirt. Also, a big shout out. I know my dad's watching on YouTube tonight. I know my Uncle Henry's watching on YouTube. So big shout out to you guys. So thanks, and click the like button so we get more likes as well, guys. That's the thumbs up for the old people who don't know what it is. All right. Well, Coach, let's talk about Tampa, New Orleans last night. Now, New Orleans has a thing against Tampa in the regular season. It's been crazy the last couple of years. I know they had injuries, but New Orleans defense was amazing last night. I mean, unstoppable.
Yeah, I said it before, and I said it again. The one team for sure that can give a defense that can give Tampa hell is New Orleans, because they have 2 good corners, and one of the corners can pretty much take out Mike Evans, because Mike Evans is nothing but a vertical threat. The only difference is, I said, and you got to have Antonio Brown.
Right.
Antonio Brown is the only one that can actually run legit routes. I mean, if you look at Tampa Bay, I said all the time, you have Mike Evans. He's a vertical guy, and he's a drag across the middle. And then you got Chris Godwin. That's your screen guy / he slants across the middle. Right. And then you got Gronk pretty much controlling the middle of the field and try to get him on outs and comebacks with mismatches. But you don't have that one-on-one who's going to beat that guy. And with Antonio Brown, you have a guy that he can run the short routes and he can beat you vertical. Because if you watched the game last night, all they did was they ran man with a 2-high safety. They dropped one safety down to stop the drag across the middle and kept one safety over the top to make sure you can't throw it just vertical. And
and they were putting a lot of pressure on Brady too, which because of that coverage, the pressure was able to get to him, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was nuts. And I know if you heard Godwin's out with an ACL tear. I don't know if you heard that news. Yeah. So now Antonio Brown coming back becomes even more important. I know the coach has said that he wants to bring him back because he wants whatever's going to be best for the team. And I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence of whether he should be back or not because of what he did. But at this point, whatever's best for the team. He didn't hurt anybody. It's not like he infected the team or this and that. So I'm okay with him coming back at that type of thing. Yes. Now, what was have you heard anything about the status of Fournette? I heard Fournette got hurt last night too.
Both of them are hamstrings. Him and Mike Evans is a hamstring. I thought it was a groin because he
Right.
was grabbing his inner thigh,
Mm-hmm.
and when it happened, but it's just a hamstring. So I think they just pulled both of them out of precaution because I mean, honestly, truthfully, they're gonna make the playoffs. So now the biggest focus after, even if you looked at it last year was a wild card. We went everywhere. We traveled to every game. Every game was away. So we're not worried about playing away. Our biggest focus is just being healthy.
Right.
Because you had two guys in the secondary that were out.
Mm-hmm.
You got three receivers that were out and two running backs.
Right. Yeah. No, it definitely was a hospital day for them, if you could say. And then what scared me was the play that Brady ran and got hit and fumbled the ball. And the way he got hit, I was like, I kind of cringed back in my chair. I was like, oh, that did not look good. I'm sure the whole stadium held their breath for a minute when he got hit last night. That was pretty crazy. Now, from the New Orleans side, Tony, I mean, this defense is obviously proven. It's a great defense, tight defense, can hold teams down. But, obviously their offense is little to none to speak of. They're playing this triple wing 1940s almost type of offense. I mean, can this team make the playoffs with this type, or I mean, is it just eventually, it just can't sustain itself?
I mean, I definitely think it's possible because I mean, if you look at the rest of the NFC, I mean, they're pretty much once you get past that fifth seed in the Rams, as far as that go, the last two spots are really kind of up for grabs. Minnesota is up in the conversation. The 49ers are up in the conversation. The Eagles are even in contention for it. And really those are next with the Saints. Those are probably the four teams I would trust to be able to at least make a playoff spot. I don't see New Orleans being able to be carried enough by their defense. It kind of reminds me the last couple of years, Chicago made it to the playoffs. They completely and totally relied on just a heavy defensive front and a heavy defense to be able to carry them. But then offensively, they weren't able to match any type of significant firepower that anybody else offered. So, I mean, I think they can make the playoffs. Will they go far in the playoffs? Absolutely not.
No. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're interesting to watch. Taysom Hill is definitely interesting to watch. I mean, he's good at what he does. I mean, he tried to throw in the pocket. There was a couple throws that were dropped. There's a couple throws that he overthrows. But yeah, this New Orleans team is definitely they're definitely kind of playing ugly type of football. So we'll see what happens with that. Well, addressing Freddie's question of analytics, let's talk about Green Bay and Baltimore. Once again, Baltimore goes for 2 at the end of the game and unsuccessfully. So the analytics say, late in the game, maybe go for 2 to try to go for the win. But Tony, with a backup quarterback and you're at home, it's not like you have to deal with a road crowd. You're at home. They say when you're on the road, you go for the win. When you're at home, you go for the tie. I mean, what do you feel about all that?
I mean, it's one of those, you look at it and it's 50-50 no matter what you do, because if they go for it and they get it, oh my God, it was the greatest play they could do. They walk away with the win. They make a dominant statement. And of course, if we look at it how we're looking at it now, it's one of those, man, that was a boneheaded decision. At least take the overtime. To me personally, I would say at least give yourself another chance. Like, you're going in with a backup quarterback. You've made this game competitive, which, to be honest with you, when they said that Lamar was going to be out, I kind of wrote this game off as well. This is going to be a Green Bay win. I didn't expect Baltimore to be as competitive as they were with it. So to me, if you look at what they did with Pittsburgh, they did the exact same thing, and then they did the same thing with Green Bay. You were able to keep yourself in contention. You were able to keep yourself in the game for pretty much the entirety of it, and you built yourself back. I would almost say don't get in your own way of, oh, we're going to go for 2, we're going to take the easy win, we're going to walk it off. No, if you lose in the touchdown in the overtime for whatever reason, or safety, whatever happens, you at least gave yourself that opportunity. Like, we're not going to, screw ourselves because we decided to be cocky, go for 2, and then, somebody drops the ball or we come up short. We gave ourselves a chance to at least be competitive. Whereas, when you go for it and then you don't make it, then again, you've at least screwed yourself out of the opportunity to stay in contention and at least compete for the win.
Right. No, definitely. I mean, it was an interesting play call, Coach. I mean, did you like the play call? Was it a good play call? Could they have run something different because of the success that they were having with Hundley running the ball, and with the tight end? I mean, I mean, what did you see on that play, and do you think something else could have been more effective?
The only thing I say is you had a one receiver route,
Right.
and you rolled the quarterback. Now, if you would have kept the quarterback in the pocket, then I can understand. But you can't roll out and only have one guy running the route. So it kind of leave you with nothing, because that, like you said, that safety came over there. Safety saw him roll out. He shot to the one receiver, to the tight end, and the end contained Huntley, so he couldn't run the ball.
Right.
So it just pretty much put you in a bind when you do that. But I mean, one thing about Harbaugh, he plays Madden. And a lot of the young coaches, they play like they play Madden. You know, like, hey, we'll forget kick field goal. We're gonna go for it. I mean, and if you even look at it, even this year, it's a lot of teams are going for it on fourth down, a lot more now.
No, they definitely are. I mean, and the analytics have come into effect, as Freddie said, because of the 2-point conversions. There's been a lot of games where teams have gone for two earlier. Some have converted, some have not. The Monday night game last week, Arizona went for two early, got behind, had to play catch up as they went along. So, you know, it's an interesting game. I mean, you know, the 2-point conversion has definitely become more a part of football now than it definitely used to be. Since they changed the extra point to, like, you know, further out. Of course, you know, they definitely have the analytics of that part of the game has changed.
But I think a lot of it is especially it's more so. It's not. I'm not gonna say analytics for the younger coaches. It's in that, like I said, they're in that modern Madden. When you play it, and it's that style of, because you don't kick field goals. Fourth down, 4th and 5. Oh, let's go for it. 4th and 4. Oh, we can make this. So that's one of the things. Like when people say analytics, it's like, now these younger coaches, they're like, man, shoot, what we got to lose?
Exactly. That definitely nothing to lose. Well, I mean, Baltimore had a lot to lose because now, you know, they're in the playoff chase. They're not in first place. Cincinnati's in first place now. Huge game next week, Cincinnati and Baltimore. Should be a great game. Definitely looking forward to that. Let's move over to Saturday. Huge game in the AFC. New England went into Indianapolis and came back. They were down 20-0, come back with 17 points in the fourth quarter. And then that running back for Indianapolis,
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, and I mean, he's having an MVP season. He scored touchdowns in 11 straight games. I mean, there's basically saying that either him or Aaron Rodgers is the MVP this year. And I mean, that Colts team they could ride him to the playoffs. You know, who knows how even further. But did this game finally expose Mac Jones as a rookie coach and show how you know, he's getting there, but he's just not there yet? I mean, the Colts had a great game plan for 3 quarters, and then New England comes back in the fourth. But still, I mean, I didn't see it live. I saw the replay of the game, and I definitely think Mac Jones really got exposed Saturday. What do you think?
He's a manager. Like, that's what he is. Like, Mac, if you go even when he was in college, Mac Jones was a manager. When he had receivers that can make plays and do everything. I think that's where people messed up. I mean, they won their 7 or 8 games, but they didn't really play anybody. And then if you take the Bills game, if it wasn't 60 miles per hour wind, they would have been down. So I think a lot of people, he did what he was supposed to do. He managed the game. And he doesn't have a receiver that's going to get open. He doesn't have a tight end that's going to get open. And I mean, that just showed it when the Patriots play someone that's with a winning record in playoff contention, they lose. Right. You can go look at the record this year. The only team they beat, I think, is the Chargers.
Right.
But everybody else they play, well, you can say the Bills too.
Yeah.
But other than that, they haven't played anybody that you can sit there and say, oh my gosh.
You know, and it's funny, if you look at the stats from that game, you know, Mac Jones threw the ball 45 times. 45 times. Now, I know their number one running back was out, but 45 times with that receiving core, with Hunter Henry as tight end, only catching 6 balls. I mean, spreading the ball out, of course, but no one, as you said, can go over the top, whatever. Meanwhile, with the Colts, Carson Wentz was 5 of 12, and Jonathan Taylor had 29 touches for 170. So, I mean, Tony, do you think this was just a game plan for this particular game, or is this going to be the model that the Colts are going to try to run with through the rest of the season, where if Carson Wentz throws 20 passes per game, you're going to be lucky?
I think honestly that's just the game plan, because if you look at the Colts really throughout the last few games of the season, that's what they've relied on. They've relied on Jonathan Taylor. I'll even go back and say that one of my first hot takes I did for this show was that Jonathan Taylor was going to lead the league in rushing. And I almost was about to have to eat my words until Derrick Henry got hurt.
Right.
Luckily, I don't have to do that. But no, I mean, if you look at it, and you could even go back to when Philadelphia had Frank Reich and Carson Wentz both. That's what they relied on, was that running game. They went out and they got Jay Ajayi, who, as far as that kind of power back that could also make those bursts like Jonathan Taylor can, that's what they relied on, and they relied on a ball hawking defense, which really is what Indianapolis has had all year. They gave the Rams a huge run for their money until Carson Wentz got hurt right at the end of the game. They gave Tampa Bay a run for their money. They've given every team that has a playoff winning record, winning record that's in contention for the playoffs or in the bubble for the playoffs. They've given all of them a run for their money, and New England was really no different. They knew that they knew it was going to be hard to throw against New England's secondary, especially with the pass catchers that they have. T.Y. Hilton is older. He's a little bit more injury prone. Pittman's not bad. Pascal's not bad. Jack Doyle is a semi-solid tight end. Same with Mo Alley Cox. So, I mean, really, you had to rely on the running game. And with Carson Wentz, you're still not completely sold on him. I don't think Frank Reich is either. I think he's good for where he's at. I think he's solid. And I think Frank Reich is going to get the best out of him. But, I mean, really, I think this is going to be the formulated goal for the Colts pretty much throughout the rest of the year. And if they go into as they go into the playoffs, because I think they'll for sure get in, they're just going to rely on Jonathan Taylor. And it's kind of one of those, they remind me a little bit of how the Tennessee Titans used to be when their defense was a little bit better.
Right.
Feed your running back. Your quarterback is just kind of a game manager, make the plays when you need to, and just feast.
Right.
Yeah, no, exactly. Feed the beast,
Exactly.
for sure. Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting with the Colts playing Arizona next weekend. They play Christmas night at 8:15. Let's move on to Arizona. Ashley, Arizona goes into Detroit and lays an egg. I'm sure a lot of teams. And it was funny. A lot. I heard a show Saturday night that basically a lot of the sharps were on Detroit taking the points. And a lot of the sharps won a lot of money in Vegas this weekend because obviously Detroit covered and won flat out. Coach, is this flat performance basically because of why can't I think of his name? The receiver being out.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, before Hopkins being out. I mean, do you think they laid this egg because Hopkins was out completely? Because they won games without Hopkins and Kyler Murray. It's for them to go in and lay this kind of egg with Hopkins out. I mean, is that the cause of this? And is this a reason for them to panic all of a sudden? Like, whoa, what's going on here?
To be honest with you, I just think it's Cliff Kingsbury. He's a throw aired out guy. He probably should have ran the ball a lot more. You had both your backs in.
Mm-hmm.
You should have ran the ball more. But that's what you get with Cliff Kingsbury. He's a pass it. I'm gonna throw it 30, 40, 50 times. And with that type of offense in the NFL, it hasn't worked. You have to be able to run the ball. You got a little Mighty Mouse back there, 5'5", and he's just running around. And now, like you said, when you throw it 40, 50 times, you expect Kirk to get open. You expect Green to make plays, the tight end that they traded for. But again, they have to run the ball.
No, they did not run the ball effectively. You're absolutely right.
No, they just look like they did last year, because last year they was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then the last 3 or 4 games, they lost out. They dropped out because everybody started getting hurt on the offensive side. Defense get worn down. When you throw the ball 40, 50 times and you're not completing it, that means your defense is playing on the field a lot longer.
Yeah. It's exactly true. I mean, they've got a great two-headed monster back there with Connor and Edmonds. They need to run the ball. Murray threw the ball 41 times, 23 or 41, which is not a very good percentage whatsoever. His main 2 targets were Kirk and Zach Ertz. AJ Green only had 4 catches. Yeah, a definite bad game plan on Kingsbury's part. So now let's talk about the Arizona Indianapolis matchup next week, because it's a great matchup. You know, we talked, one team ran the ball so much this week, the other team didn't run the ball enough. You know, so do you think Tony, the same kind of game plan that they have for New England can work against this Arizona team? And, you know, can Arizona's throw it out game plan work against Indy, or do both teams need to change it up a little bit because this particular game plan won't work against these opposing defenses?
I think Arizona would have to change it up more than Indy, because I mean, you think about it, really, as obviously as the season progresses, you know, teams get tape, teams get film over your team. If you look at Arizona, DeAndre Hopkins is out. That's one dude that 9 times out of 10 you're probably going to have to double cover, and he may or may not beat your double coverage. Well, now he's out. You have an aging AJ Green, who, with DeAndre Hopkins on the other side, AJ Green can kind of look like AJ Green again. Now, not as much. Zach Ertz, you know, they have a linebacker that's versatile enough in Darius Leonard to cover him. Really, the only person left that you have to worry about is, you know, Christian Kirk as far as the speedster. More than likely, they're probably going to move him out, which is dumb. They should keep him as a slot receiver because that's typically where he's solid. For the Colts, though, they have probably one of the best corners as far as covering slot receivers. Number 26, and I'm not even going to try to enunciate his name because it's really difficult. But I would say for Indy, kind of continue what you're doing offensively. Maybe get Carson Wentz a little bit more involved with some of the short intermediate passes, because you don't have to throw deep. Really, the big thing is, you know, they're going to use him as a game manager. Use him as a game manager, get some of those short intermediate passes, just get those first downs, because your big thing is you want to eat up the clock. The longer you keep the offense off the field, the other opposing team's offense off the field, the better chance you have. Now for Arizona, they need to have that balance. They need to run the ball. If you have your 2 best backs, you need to run it. Is Indy going to be a tough team to run against? 100%. But you need to be able to wear that defense down. You need to have that balance. And Indy is one of the toughest teams to throw against because they lead the league in turnovers. Them and Dallas both lead the league as far as interceptions and takeaways go. So you have to be smart when it comes to throwing them. And I think, if knowing Cliff Kingsbury, how he wants to immediately push the ball down the field, and I think Kyler does too, just transferring his days from Oklahoma, they're going to get burned if they do that. Especially against this Colts secondary, they're going to get burned if they do that.
No doubt. And it'd be a shame, because Arizona got off to a hot start. You know, for them to lose, if the Rams win tomorrow, you know, it cuts that even closer. So, yeah, it's gotten a lot tighter for Arizona, and it should not have had to. All right, we're going to take a short break. We're going to show our ad for our merchandise. We're live here on YouTube. Please subscribe and like the channel. And then when we get back, we're going to talk about this whole COVID cancellation thing. We'll be right back.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we're making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays. Network. Whole sports all plays. Network. We on top of our game. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.
All right, we are back. Welcome back, everybody. Yeah, so this was a crazy week as far as COVID testing goes. Obviously, the Omicron variant has been spreading throughout the world. It's causing a major spike in cases here in the United States. Thankfully, it seems like it's not a powerful variant, and people are getting sick, but not, God forbid, dying and all that stuff. So maybe we're getting there and getting closer to the end of this, hopefully. But the NFL had a lot of guys test positive this week. A lot of teams were shorthanded. Games were moved, including the game tonight earlier at 5 o'clock, which we were talking about. And then we got 2 games tomorrow, 2 big NFC matchups. So, Coach, in general, I mean, the NFL is moving games. You know, they don't want to lose the games. Owners don't want to lose the revenue. There were some teams that were saying that, it's a competitive advantage to move these games, obviously, because of rosters. But do you look at it that way, or do you look at it as like, if these teams can play as full roster as they can, it'd be a better game to watch in one team with no guys and one team with a full roster? Where do you sit with that?
it's hard to explain. I don't know and I say that because if you really look at it, when you don't have certain guys, take the Cleveland Browns. You didn't have Baker Mayfield. You didn't even have Case Keenum. So you really don't have anything. You don't know what this quarterback. You had to go back. I didn't even know, like you said, I didn't even know he played for the 49ers.
Oh, okay.
so and so so right then and there, like they had to go grab film from 2018 49ers game. I'm just throwing out, I don't know what year you played.
Right.
So like you playing it. So you kind of have an advantage at that point. I think, but what you're gonna see a lot of sloppy play from quarterback to receivers. Because if you watch like that game, a lot of drop balls.
Mm-hmm.
Even the game last night with Tampa Bay, a lot of drop balls. Because now everybody's so scared of the whole COVID. I think they just went to like pretty much a lot of Zoom meetings.
Right.
And you didn't. I mean, at this time of the year anyway, you're not practicing. It's just everything is now just just trying to it's maintenance per se, and just walkthroughs and everything else. But you got to give everybody to be able to help as you can be to play, because like I said, at the end of the day, it's a money grab. I mean, you look at it regardless of the situation. Everybody was complaining about the Browns not having both their quarterbacks to a third string guy, but they almost won the game.
Right.
Like everybody was watching the game. So in the NFL eyes, okay, we're winning. No one, you can't, like Cleveland can't say, well, if we would have had Baker, we would have won. No, you had a chance to win. Your defense didn't make a stop.
Right. Exactly. Tony, what's your view on this?
Yeah, I think the NFL mainly does it just because, I mean, think about it. It's a revenue thing. And plus, I think this is kind of what the NFL has wanted to do for probably the last couple of years anyway, is they want to have games throughout the entire week because they want people to watch. It's pretty much about the only thing on, unless you have some type of sitcom or show that you're focused on.
Mm-hmm.
Monday night, okay, we got 2 games instead of 1, because a lot of people like myself on the East Coast, if we have to work the next morning, it's hard for me to watch a full Monday night football game without, potentially sacrificing sleep for the next morning. So if I can watch one, and still be able to go to bed, cool. And then if you look at the time of which they'd had it happen too, it's obviously just a pure coincidence. But, look at the NFC East matchup, for example, with Washington and Philly. That game can pretty much determine, how the NFC East is going to fold out. Is Dallas going to be able to take the division early? Is Philadelphia going to be able to sneak into the playoffs? Is Washington going to be able to sneak into the playoffs? And plus, from the NFL and from a fan standpoint, do you want to watch a bunch of third stringers, kind of battle it out? Because really that's just what preseason is for. Like it's just a preseason game in the regular season. And a lot of people don't watch that. The NFL recognizes that. But I think I'm not even going to really say part of it is like for a safety thing either. I think purely for the NFL, it's one of those, they want the money, the players want the money, the fans want the money, the owners do too. And it is competitive because if you think about it, the NFL already lost a lot of money last year because they didn't have majority of fans in a lot of these stadiums. So kind of the same with the NBA, as the NBA is getting hit with this too. They're not really going to look at this as like, we don't want to take that pay cut again. Like we're coming back from this. We're, going into year 3 of knowing how to deal with a lot of this, how to deal with the protocols, the standards. So we're not really looking to sacrifice money if we can help it.
No, true. I mean, but the only difference between the NFL and the NBA is the NFL has the richest TV contracts. So these networks pay a hell of a lot of money to broadcast these games. They want these games on the air, and it definitely will benefit the networks for having, NFL Network had the game on at 5:00. It was on. You could watch it on your phone. Tomorrow, the country's basically going to be split in half. One East Coast, probably Midwest, is going to get the AFC East, NFC East game. West Coast is going to get the Niners and Seattle. Seattle and the Rams. So, yeah, it's a definite benefit to have these games on. I mean, I know for me, I was like 5:00 football. Yeah, sign me up. Sign me up. Definitely. The only competitive disadvantage is now is Cleveland has a short week because Cleveland's scheduled to play Saturday again. And then the teams that play Tuesday have to turn around and play Sunday again. So it's like it's a 5-day, even though they had to extend it on the other side. But when it comes to late in the season, when guys are hurt and guys are aching and stuff like that, you need those extra days probably to rehab. So there's an advantage, disadvantage. Advantage fans, disadvantage players. But, You pay me $20 million. You know, it's okay. I'll eat for a couple of days. That's how I look at it. At least, very cool. All right, so I want to talk about the AFC playoff picture now, and I want to see if I can share this. Can I share this? Where is it? I'm trying to share this. Yeah. All right. I press share. So is this sharing, Tony, or no?
No,
There it is. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. All right. So this is the current playoff picture as we have it.
actually, yeah.
Obviously, you know, we have our four division leaders. You know, Kansas City, New England is still in first place. Tennessee and Cincinnati is now in first. But I want to talk about, we're going to play a little buy or sell for a lot of particular teams to see if we're buying them to possibly to make the playoffs or if we're selling them that their season's over. So just we're going to go through all the teams. Quick take out of both you guys. Let's start, Coach, with Buffalo. Are you buying or selling Buffalo right now? What do you think?
Oh yeah, I'm buying. They're gonna make the playoffs. Like I think next week they're gonna beat New England. Look, they're coming in with a vengeance. So of course I'm gonna ride with them.
All right, so you're buying Buffalo. Tony, are you buying or selling Buffalo?
Yeah, I am, because if you really look at the rest of these teams that are, you know, vying in for a playoff spot, none of them really stand out to me other than Baltimore, that I could see that would be able to go into the playoffs and actually make any type of noise. I think the Bills are probably the only team that I would say I don't know how far they'll go, because this Bills team is a complete 180 from what they were the last couple of years, but I think I would definitely bet on them going in the playoffs though.
Yeah, me too. I would definitely buy some Buffalo stock. All right, we talked about Indy before, but now let's get a final take. So, Tony, you said before Indy's going to make the playoffs. So let's expound on that a little bit. Why you think Indy's making the playoffs?
I mean, think about it. Like I said, if you look at the rest of the AFC, you know, Denver's kind of there but struggling. You know, we've seen them when they don't have Teddy Bridgewater, when they don't have a good quarterback. Denver's not going to make it. We've saw Cleveland be up and down with health issues. Baker Mayfield has been up and down. Miami's on a bit of a hot streak. I think it's just one of those. It just happens to be luck of the draw on who they're facing. Again, Miami hasn't really faced anybody that's legitimate competition to say, oh yeah, we're on a 6-game winning streak and we've beat legitimate opponents. You've beat a bunch of nobodies, so I can't really put in Miami. The Raiders kind of the same way. They haven't really beat much of anybody. You know, they beat the Browns just now. Okay, cool. The Browns haven't really beaten anybody big. And then the Steelers, same thing. I don't trust Big Ben. I don't trust their defense. They're near bottom as far as stopping the run. So I think the Colts are probably a strong 5th seed to go in. And I think, all honesty, with the way Tennessee's been playing, they could probably even upset Tennessee and take the division.
Interesting. All right, Coach, do you agree with that, or what's your take on Indy?
Well, I mean, I had them from the beginning. I mean, even if you go back and you look, the Colts should have won, I want to say, maybe 2 games. Like, they should have beat the Tennessee the second time they played them, and I want to say the Ravens for sure earlier in the season.
And the
Rams.
Rams.
It was the Rams? Yeah. Okay. But, yeah, I mean, you got Jonathan Taylor, so you got a run game. Your defense is playing well. I see the coach staying in. And, again, like you said, I got to look at Tennessee's schedule again. I think they have an easy schedule. They should win on like at least 2 of the 3 that's left. So they'll stay in the 3 spot.
Interesting. All right, so now let's look at right now Tennessee. I'm sorry. Let's look at Cincinnati right now, who is the leader in the AFC Central. So do you think they can hang on and not only make the playoffs and maybe even win that division, or are they still so hot and cold? We're still not sure of those guys.
No, I think they're going to win it. I picked them because even if you look at Baltimore right now, even in the game, and that's probably one of the reasons why he went for it. The safety, and lost another safety in another corner, so they're like pretty much in 4th and 5th string guys playing in the secondary. Right. So I just think injuries is now catching up with them. So I have Cincinnati beating them because, matter of fact, I think they play this week or next week against each other.
I think they play next week. Yeah.
So they play next week against each other, and so I have Cincy.
So you're buying Cincy. Tony, are you buying or selling Cincy?
Yeah, I'll buy him. I kind of agree with Coach. I think with how dysfunctional Baltimore is, Baltimore's big thing is they have to overcome the injuries, and at this point, there's so many that it becomes a point where it's hard to overcome so many injuries. You've got 5 running backs on them. You're like Coach said, you're down to like 5th, 6th string guys as far as cornerbacks and defensive backs go. So and your main quarterback isn't exactly all there, and especially because he likes to run. If he's not 100% with that ankle, that really limits the Baltimore and what they're able to do. So yeah, I think this is honestly Cincy's division for the taking at this point.
Oh, interesting. All right. Yeah, I agree with all you guys so far. Definitely. I like these playoff choices. Now, let's talk about the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are an interesting team. They played a hell of a game Thursday night, but once again, Patrick, you give Patrick Mahomes a chance, he's going to beat you. He's got Kelsey, the best tight end in the league, and then that was a great play on Kelsey's part, running around like that, cutting through guys, making guys miss, and scoring a touchdown in overtime. Are the Chargers a playoff team, or are we still not sure about the Chargers, Tony?
Again, I think they are. They're one of those teams. They're hot and cold, but I would trust them more in the playoffs than I would trust kind of a hot and cold team like the Ravens. Like I said, the Ravens are overcome injuries. The Chargers are one of those teams. The more snaps Justin Herbert plays, the better he gets. We've seen him just completely tear up the league statistically. He always keeps the Chargers in competition for pretty much most of their games until they face New England for whatever reason, and then the Chargers just lose the bucket. But no, I mean I would definitely see them going in as well because again the rest of the AFC they're either big missing pieces away or they just haven't been able to beat legitimate competition. At least the Chargers, they may not have always beaten that competition, but they've been able to actually keep pace with them as far as actually making it competitive. So yeah, I would be sold on the Chargers too.
Interesting. What about you, Coach?
I think they're gonna make it by default. Baltimore has a tough schedule, and Pittsburgh. I mean, they have a decent schedule. I think Pittsburgh they play the Browns and they play the Chiefs this Sunday. Then they play the Browns and they play the Ravens again. I mean, unless the only one I can see jumping in there is Miami, but no, I think like I said, Chargers. They play the Texans this week. That's the win, so they'll be fine. I think they'll get to 10. That's all they got to do. You win 2, you in.
It seems like the magic number this year is 10. It's 10 especially in the AFC. It seems like the magic number is 10. Now, what's interesting, if we look at Cleveland tonight, if Cleveland would have won tonight, they would have been in first place in their division. They fall all the way down to the 12th seed because of tiebreakers. Now, let's say since he loses to Baltimore and then Cleveland wins against Arizona, then it all changes. So if Cleveland wins next week, are they a possible playoff team, or do you think they're just smoke and mirrors because of everything? I mean, what can we see Cleveland doing if Cleveland can win and the chips fall into place? Can they make some noise in the playoffs, Coach?
Who, Cleveland?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Well, to be honest, too, you have to remember Pittsburgh's in there, and Pittsburgh already has a win over Cleveland too, so they have a tiebreaker. So if anything, if Cincy loses, that would push Pittsburgh farther up because they have a win over Baltimore, Cincy, and Cleveland. Actually, no, they don't have a win over Cincy, but they have a win over Cleveland and Baltimore both. So that would project Pittsburgh up even farther.
Right.
No.
So we're counting out Cleveland, and we're probably counting Pittsburgh out too. Even though I love their coach, I love what they do, but I think are we counting Pittsburgh out? Like they just don't. They're not going to climb into this thing, right?
Yeah, because you got what Cleveland has to play the Packers,
right?
Then you got to backdoor it, and you got to play the Steelers, and then you play Cincy again. I don't know because then, like you said, short rest on Christmas Day. You got to play Aaron Rodgers. No.
Right.
I just think whoever wins the AFC North is gonna that's gonna be an easy win for whoever they play. Honestly, truly, I think if they have to play since they're the 4th seed,
so they would play the 5th seed.
So they'll play the Colts. Colts will take any of those 3, no matter where it's at. I mean,
interesting. So now, okay, but now, so here's another question. Obviously, The Raiders, I just think the Raiders, no, we're just done with the Raiders. The Raiders are just, they won tonight, but I think we're all done with the Raiders. Miami, I think, is interesting because they play New Orleans next week on a Monday night, and we've all seen what New Orleans defense is great, but their offense is putrid, so that's a possible win. They go into Tennessee the next week. That's the interesting game to me because depending on who Tennessee has, who's healthy. They've been talking about Derrick Henry maybe coming back. I don't know if he'll come back for the regular season. They might keep him out for the playoffs. So they could possibly. I mean, Miami has to win out. They play in New Orleans, in Tennessee, against New England. Now, Coach, you've always said New England has problems coming down to Miami at the end of the year. Could Miami win out and possibly sneak in?
Yes. I mean, they have to win this Sunday. That is the most. If they win Sunday, then yes, because I see them beat New England. One thing about it is Miami's defense is gonna be ready to play,
right?
And I think they can beat them. And for some reason, I don't care. There's anybody that plays New England go to Miami, it's always a tough game, or they always lose, especially at the end of the season. I don't know why. It's just always been one of those things, no matter what.
Yeah, it's been a weird stigma down here. It's down here. So basically, we're all in agreement. We like Kansas City winning the AFC West. We like New England to make the playoffs. But if Buffalo beats them, then they'll be tied, and you never know. You never know what could happen there as far as who wins that division, who wins the wild card. But we do like New England. We like Tennessee. We like basically these top 7 teams that are ranked right now. So we're all kind of in agreement that the way it lays right now is probably the way it's going to end up at the end of the year. So. And it's interesting how in the beginning of the season, we were all talking about Kansas City, how, their defense was terrible, how their offense couldn't get it together. And all of a sudden they've come and they put it together, and they're the hottest team in the league right now. So, I mean, if I had to pick a team right now to make the Super Bowl, I would definitely pick Kansas City. Would you guys agree with that?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, I wrote with that from the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it was one of those It kind of reminded me of Kansas City. What was it, 2018, the year that they lost to the Patriots as far as the championship goes? Because that was a solid Kansas City team. It was just their defense kept making mistakes, and the one dude kept lining up off sides. I mean, they're still in contention, 100%. It was just one of those. Sometimes it does take teams later in the year for everything to click and actually get it together.
Yeah, definitely. But it's been fun to watch them progress and watch them improve and get out of their slump, and their defense start playing better, and Mahomes start playing better, and really, get out of that. It's like he had his sophomore slump, but he had it this year instead, rather than his sophomore season. Next week, we're going to talk about the NFC and see where the NFC standings are, and we'll see what's going on with that playoff picture. We got a couple minutes left, so we got the holidays coming up, but I definitely want to get a final take on anything sports wise, or it could just be what's going on in the world, or a Christmas wish, or anything like that. So, Tony, since you're our military guy, just speak on. Give us a good take, or whatever's been going on in the services at this time of year. What you guys have been doing over there.
So typically for the service, it's really hard because for a lot of us, I'm fortunate enough now finally for, I've been here now 3 years. I've been in for almost 8, and this is the closest I've ever been to home. It's only an hour and 45-minute drive for me home for the holidays. Nice. I remember being in Station DC though. That was a 10-hour drive home. So I didn't really get to go home for the holidays a lot. So for a lot of the service members, that's probably the thing I love about it the most. And that's actually what I like about this network is it's very family oriented. We're always there for each other as far as, hey, because to be honest, a lot of times people that we work with in the military, especially if we work 12 plus hour shifts, we see these people more than we see our own families. So for the service, it sucks, but that's what I love about it. It's camaraderie, it's a brother, it's a sisterhood, and we just make it work. So for all my service members out there, it does get better. Eventually, you get to that point. Military is like life. Everything is temporary. Eventually, one of these times, whether you do a day of service or whether you do 40 plus years of service, it's going to come to an end. You're going to be able to come back into civilian life, and we're going to make it work.
Cool. I always wanted to ask you, what made you join the service? What was it?
Kind of a family tradition, to be honest with you. And also I thought I would get paid a lot more. On so many levels. I was going to get paid more. No, so pretty much everybody in my family either went military or law enforcement. Growing up, my grandfather on my mom's side was 20 years in the Air Force. My dad was a combat medic in the Army for Vietnam. Mom was on the Sheriff's Department for 24 years. My uncle was Metropolitan Police for 30. And then my dad was also 20 years on the Sheriff's Department as well. That's how he and my mom met. So for me, it was kind of that. And then, like I said, I thought I would make a lot more money. Ooh, was I wrong? It took me 8 years to finally make decent money. So it's a long time.
And your wife's in the service too, right?
Nope. She, my ex-wife is actually, she's medical. And then the current girlfriend is actually a math teacher. So I've gone after nothing but civilians. Military girls, love them, but they're crazy as hell. Absolutely not.
All right, I apologize. I saw the picture. I thought I do apologize for that.
No.
Coach, what's your final take for the night?
Oh man, to be honest with you, it's Saturday, Christmas Day. I mean, I know a lot of guys that's all they've been talking about, this Christmas basketball and ESPN, Christmas basketball. Yeah. But now we got 2 football games coming on also. So I'm kind of curious and want to see the stats on who watched what game the most.
Okay, Coach, I have to ask you real quick. Who do you have in the big matchup, the Nets or the Lakers?
Who do I have?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a LeBron fan, man. I'm going to go with Lakers.
Okay.
Now, but a big question is who's going to be healthy and who's going to, hopefully none of the games will get postponed and everyone's going to be off the COVID list and all the rosters will be, complete. So that's a big question too. It's like, it's hard to say today who's going to be playing on Saturday,
Yeah. And I'm not even going to lie to you, Tony. I probably won't even watch half it. I'll probably go back and forth on commercial breaks. I'm going to watch the Arizona and the Coast game.
Oh, no, 100%.
When I looked at the times, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna miss that one." So,
and I'll be honest, I don't know about y'all. I don't mind watching NBA during the regular season, but to me, it's one of those. There's so many regular season games, and they don't really matter. Like it doesn't matter to the playoffs. Like that's probably when I enjoy watching the NBA the most. Is mainly in the playoffs because that's when you get the most competitive basketball. And you get the best out of 7 series between the 2 teams. So,
to me, NBA season doesn't start till Christmas Day. That's how I've always seen it. I think they should start at Christmas, and when they end, shorten the season. There's definitely too many games.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I agree with it's seasons for me. So, like right now, you got college bowls, you got the national championship, then you got Super Bowls, then you got March Madness. Now we got NBA. Because usually when April, that's when all the games really start getting serious and you start looking like seeding and placing and all that. Mm-hmm. Like right now, man, because you can go on in basketball, you can go on streaks. You can win 10 games and you can lose 5 and still be all right.
Yeah.
Right. No, exactly true. Yeah, it's going to be a good day of sports definitely on Christmas Day. I have to work that night, but I'll definitely be home watching games that day. My final take is, and I'm wearing my Mets hat. This is my custom Mets hat that I like. The Mets signed Buck Showalter today as their new manager, which gives us hope. We got an old school guy coming in. It's going to whip these young guys into shape. Play some analytics, play some old school baseball, and hopefully the Mets will finally turn out something and give us Met fans something to be happy for in 2022. So that's it. Everybody out there, have a happy and safe holiday. Stay safe out there. If you drink too much on Christmas Day, call an Uber. Don't be a statistic. Be with your families, enjoy your families, be safe. And if you feel like you're going to be in a crowded place too much, just wear your mask just to be careful so you don't get sick. We got to stay safe. We got to get through this thing. So happy holidays, everybody, and we will see everybody. Thank you guys for joining me. Of course, you guys are awesome. You guys are the best. Happy holidays to you guys, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Whole sports all plays. Yeah. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you